This episode of Rainbow Brainskull is brought to you by labels. Sometimes labels are good. It's nice to know where your files are. It's good to have some level of organization among concepts. But then when labels become something that you are a slave to, like in music or art, when those labels block natural creativity, that's when they must be destroyed. And my guest today is my favorite drummer in the whole world right now, and is an absolute paradigm shifter in terms of how to approach music, art, and life. Please welcome the one, the only, Sarah Thawer. Hit it!
Welcome to the Rainbow Brainskull Hour. You're gonna have a good real time today. Every week there's a new guest, so that you'll learn something new. 'Cause that's all that we're here to do.
And we're live, and the episode is starting now, and I've already introed you, but I can still do a mini intro. Sarah Thawer is standing right in front of me. I've manifested her into the Rainbow Brainskull studio. I discovered you on YouTube, and I went down the rabbit hole deep, and I just immediately thought, this person has to come on the show and has to be my friend. I got to scheme a way into it. So welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Ramin. And I think we actually, one would say do the work and then become friends. I think we became friends. I met Catherine. I met Yoshi.
Yes.
And now we're doing the podcast. So
yeah, you
this
did.
is
You
amazing.
You met the whole family.
I did.
So I want to tell you what I know about you, so I don't force you to retell your story in case you get tired of that. Because sometimes people are like, there's saying like, so tell us about yourself, like tell us your story, and in your head you're like, oh no, but maybe your outside face says, yeah, I can tell it. But you grew up with a musician father, a band leader father, got you a drum set. You loved the drums from an early age, but your parents were very cautious to allow you to pursue drums professionally because they're like, you're going to have to haul around all this gear. You're going to be behind everyone. No one cares about the drummer. You get paid the least. You get the least respect. Go be a singer-songwriter at least. Come on, please.
Yes.
And they put you in piano lessons and vocal lessons from age 2 to 18. And so you never had any formal drum training, but you couldn't help but hit the drums. And I always think of the Frank Zappa quote of, where do good drummers actually come from? Because there's something within good drummers, whether you were put in it or not, that you just have to do it. So you always felt like a drummer.
Always.
And still do. There's not even off days. Like, do you still...
It's funny because for me, an off day means I'm planning to take an off day. I have to kind of take myself away because I never want to take myself away.
Yeah. But I was listening to on another show, I think it was the DNA Airwaves, maybe that's what it was called.
Yeah.
But you were coming to this realization maybe during COVID that perhaps you don't want to just be a drummer. Like you still want to be a drummer, but you want to expand into being a full artist, whether that doesn't necessarily mean, singing songs on top of it, but it also does mean that. But you want to be more than that. So in a way, you did come around to what your parents were.
I know.
Were saying.
They like drilled it in my head, in my subconscious, and now they must be clapping back in Toronto.
Yeah. And I think that you're still, and you recognize this, you've said you're very grateful for it, but what great parents to not only push the lawyer, engineer, doctor thing, because the immigrant parent thing, which I'm familiar with, I have good parents too. They weren't all about it, but the suggestion is always there. Like
always there.
Yes.
Even I think the other day, my mom's like, I think I was having a bad day, and I called my mom, and I'm like, Mom, today's a bad day. She's like, just come back and do your master's, and like, take a teaching position. I've had offers to become a professor at different institutions, like in Toronto, but I turned like quite a few things down because I'm like, no, and I shouldn't have told my mom that because now she just brings that up.
When were you offered that? Because you're so young. And I thought that, like, I don't know, you think of professors, like they have to go through all this stuff, but you've already been offered professorship roles.
I mean, like, professor is such a strong word. But like twice at the same institution, a couple of years ago.
At York?
No, I don't know if I should say the name.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, but somewhere in Canada.
Juilliard. Oh, wait, that's not in Canada.
No, it's not in Canada. Yeah. But it was offered twice, a couple of years ago, and then actually I think last year Yeah.
And you've got this other thing going, which I love examples of people that are great at something, but earlier on they were rejected. Like Michael Jordan didn't make the JV basketball team.
Yeah.
Albert Einstein failed math.
Yeah.
Tim Henson, the guitarist, rejected from Berkeley. Rejected from Berkeley, rejected from Juilliard, rejected
Everywhere.
from Canada local community
Yes.
university.
Yeah.
The only place that accepted you was this place called York.
Correct.
And you went with it, and what a loss to everyone else, but also not really, because that was your path. That was what you were meant to do.
Exactly. And it's so funny because this offer that I'm telling you about was from a school that I got rejected from.
Look who's laughing now.
Seriously. Yeah. And yeah, I feel like if I talk anymore, I don't want to give too many details away, but
Okay.
that's basically it.
That's so cool, though. Imagine getting to teach there. Not that you want to, but if you did, you could teach there, and you can hold the rejection letter up to people. And like anyone that's struggling in the class, you're like, I was already beneath all of you. So
seriously. I remember when I started auditioning, when I was like 18, YouTube was there, like, but it wasn't like as it is now. And I didn't understand what was out there. So when the rejection letters came, it felt like I've been living a lie and that I'm actually not talented and I don't know what's out there. And when I heard other kids auditioning, they were like sight reading on point. I know what this genre is. I know what that genre is. But it's like, you have to believe in yourself that you know you have it. And that I'm like, I just need books. You tell me what books. And I spent 4 years in university and I locked myself up. I learned syncopation, TED Read, whatever books it was. And now I feel like it was such an advantage because you get to find your voice. In many schools, I find that it's like, learn jazz and these should be your inspirations. These will be your exams and you need to learn these genres and you have to play it like that rather than spending time in those areas, eating the food, doing all that kind of stuff. So I'm grateful now, but it was a hard pill to swallow.
How long did it take you to truly understand that, like, this is a better path for me? This is, these institutions do not celebrate individuals.
Yeah.
And not to put down anyone that does that, but it is kind of true. Like, if you are a true original, you're probably going to be rejected by those places because you don't fit the thing. They want to put you in the box that can grow in this way, and they can't just have originals everywhere because that's just too much originality going on.
Yeah. And I would say just a few years ago, actually, that I became okay with my past and what happened. I was really mad with my parents, actually. I remember during my first year, after the first class, we had like jazz theory exams and they were playing jazz melodic minors and we had to be like, oh, it's this one. And I'm like, Mom, Dad, you guys didn't put me into jazz training. And I remember in my high school, I was the drummer for the jazz band, but everybody would go to some jazz program after. My parents were like, you don't need to do that. Like, it's going to be a waste of your time. So I'm like, you guys led me down the wrong path. How dare you? Everyone's ahead of me. And people laughed that I went to York because people who went to York, they're great, but the focus was like teaching or a high school or something like that. So it was very embarrassing for a long time.
But who's laughing now? Well, I don't know. Maybe they're both laughing. I don't know who the people that were making fun of you. But yeah, that must be tough if your contemporaries are all getting accepted into the top brass and then you're stuck schlepping it over at the unheard place relatively.
Yes, and it's not like it's gone away because I really find So university was a time I'm going to catch up in terms of theory, in terms of technique and understanding all the jargon of drums and music. Then after I said, okay, I'm going to be the drummer that's going to get hired for every different situation. But to the point where they're like, no, she's Cuban. No, she's from Jamaica. No, she's Gujarati. No, she grew up playing rock, whatever it is. Because I wanted to be so authentic and study the music. So I wanted to check out all the boxes so no one could tell me that, oh, you have a blind spot here, you have a blind spot here. So I spent from like age 22 to like, I would say 26, 27, just playing and touring with different people. And then during COVID, I kind of was like, I remember I was supposed to go on a tour. I got flown out to LA. We had rehearsals. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to be here. And then COVID hit. And a part of me was like, I hope the tour gets canceled. Because it was like 3 months I would be away. And then it got canceled. And then I really reflected during COVID that this is the life that I'm going to lead. What do I want to do with it? And then I started experimenting, posting crazy, funny, weird videos on Instagram. And I remember there were many instances where I got unfollowed like in a day. Maybe 1,000 people unfollowed me in a day. A lot of bad comments. A lot of people who were my mentors at some point, who are very well respected and recognized, were like, what are you doing?
Because you were being sillier, or what would you describe the shift in the content as?
I would say sillier, not like genre specific, soloing a lot more, doing different grips. Just, like outside
Different
the box.
grips got you in trouble?
Like you're holding the stick too tight.
Oh.
Or like you're very stiff. Or even like my face, like it's an ugly thing that you're doing. Or,
anybody that says that is on my no list now. The faces are half of it.
That's what I'm saying, hence the merch.
The faces, the foot, you exude this creative, like it's a celebration of creativity. And I'm not even a drummer. Like I have this little electronic thing and that practice pad.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just trying to do something, but I'm a string instrument guy. I'm a visual artist. And up until a year ago, I didn't even know what a rider symbol and crash symbol were. I thought it was the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, the rider symbol is this and the crash is this. But even just I discovered you, and all of a sudden your lessons through drumming, I'm like, this applies to everything.
Wow.
This is breaking it breaks the rigidness that it just forms in any creative's mind. Like you just get rigid, you can't help it, and then people help you break out of it sometimes. And I don't know how often you find yourself in those ruts, and then you have to remember that, right, it's about breaking through.
Yes, 100%. And I love that about you, that you just said you didn't know the difference between a ride cymbal and a crash cymbal, because that's my favorite thing, like not knowing. And that's how I grew up, and I thrived from that because I feel like I was able to be a kid until university. And that's like when you're a kid, you're developing. So you keep that child alive that I don't know, and there's no right or wrong. So let me just do whatever I want. And a ride cymbal and crash cymbal, it's very subjective if you think about it. They're both cymbals. Both of them could have bells. And people say a ride cymbal has a bell, but a crash has a bell. If I want a washier ride, sometimes I ride on the crash. So what's a ride? Like, you can do anything, and anything can be everything. So
everything can be everything.
Exactly.
That's why you say fusion. When you're pressed to say what your favorite genre is, you have to go fusion, because that's the only thing that means the what was it? The Brahmans? No, that's the creative state. What's the
Shiva?
The in between, the breaking apart.
Vishnu.
Yes, there we go.
Then between, and then after you destroy, and and the fire comes out.
Yes, tongues out, foot on the snare.
Yeah.
And the way you look when you're playing, it looks like a kid playing drums, but a kid that knows what they're doing for some reason. You've caught both, because people lose the childness in exchange for the competence, but the kid has the creative enthusiasm, but not the technical skill. So you've retained both of it, which is why you've got it, kid. You've got it, which is why you're on here.
That means so much to me. I feel very lucky, as a fellow person who has immigrant parents. My dad's dream was to do like Bollywood and study music. And I remember he actually enrolled in the same school that I did, obviously way before I was born. But he had to drop out. He just took a few courses because he's like, I can't pay the bills. And he had to just focus on like whatever he does, tech or science, whatever. I don't even know specifically what he does. Some tech thing. Just
generic engineer, tech, computer, Excel sheet, Python thing.
Yeah, and whatever he wants me to say that he does, so it makes him look good. So he dropped out because he couldn't do it. And so playing with him for many, many years, even up until a couple of years ago, and the odd time that when I go home, I see that rawness in him. He'll make mistakes. He doesn't care. He doesn't think too much. And it's about the feeling. Even the musicians that he plays with, they all have families, they all have full-time jobs, but they gig and they play with like India's top artists. Like, it's high quality music. And the beautiful thing about Indian music is that it's very grassroots, right? The tabla, the harmonium, there's not like computers or loops or MPCs or no. So like Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan and all these like incredible Indian singers. What it is, it's a stage and they're clapping and everyone's playing tabla and there's shifts in tempo, right? Going back and forth and you're just feeling the pitches. You have a drone. You're not thinking.
Yeah.
And I like, that's one thing that I've loved about Indian music. Even like when you touch a dholak or a tabla, these Indian percussion instruments, it's not like, okay, French grip, German grip, American grip. Okay, like you have to, no, it's like, how can you make it feel the best? And there are certain fingerings that you have to do, but there's like ghost notes that you play and the way you play that's not explained. And a lot of people who play these folk genres of music, you cannot explain it from any genre. So I got to sustain that because I just played with my dad and ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm very grateful for that. And I feel like I feel so blessed in this situation that he had to make a sacrifice, that he couldn't live his dream that he wanted to have, and that I got to live mine. So it's like honoring that lineage that I come from.
Yeah, we are standing on the shoulders of giants in a way, or at least shoulders of people that had to sacrifice, because it's easy for you and I to be like, well, no, we just post a lot on Instagram.
No.
We get our site going, we get some merch, we get this and this and this, and we're fine. And our parents just didn't have that. Like, so the fear of pursuing the arts was a much more real fear. There couldn't, they could have, but it was a less likely shot than us.
Likely. 100%. And the baggage of having their families on their back, like to immigrate to a different country, where it's like, I have my mom and my dad and they're like, okay, go.
Yeah.
You know, like we don't have to really worry about them in our situation. Yeah, very, very blessed. And even I find, as, you know, like you being Iranian and I'm like Indian, I found that I didn't have many people to look up to in the Western scene at the time because internet wasn't as it is right now, or social media. So you get kind of confused, you get kind of lost, and you don't understand what the possibilities are. Up until like what I finished school, my dad was like, I thought you can just play like Indian music at festivals and play wedding music. And I didn't know that there's this whole artist thing that you can do festivals and you can do all this stuff. He's like, this is news to me. And I'm like, I'm so happy I can bring that.
Yeah.
And bring awareness of that. Look at the possibilities out there.
When you said you didn't have many like models to follow Western wise, did you not have like your collection of drum heroes, as Mark Maron would call it, your guys? Like, who are your guys? You like Peter Erskine, you Alex Van Halen, you like, who do you like?
So I feel like I've had many faces in my life. I say that like from when I was a kid to 18, that was my percussion headspace, more world music, Indian music headspace. So it was more so like Zakir was saying, like Trilok, Gurtu, all these amazing Indian percussionists. But aside from classical Indian music, because it gets very technical, I'm really into like music that you really tap into feel. Not saying that doesn't have feel, but I didn't want to be too like academic with talas, which means rhythmic cycle in the Indian classical music system.
I learned that from you in the Rupak video.
You watched the Rupak video? Yeah. Amazing.
Which you come out hot in that. Like the first word, you're like, with Rupak, but you got it. And like, I'm immediately like, I don't even know what that is, but I want to learn about it.
Yeah. And, you know, the fact that you remember Rupak, that means like I succeeded in my mission, because I took some tabla lessons. My dad put me in tabla lessons. I think it was 5 lessons a year that I would get. And the rest I would kind of just teach myself. And it would be like, here's a booklet. And they would write down, and it's this and this. But it's like, how are people gonna latch onto this if it's taught like that? And that it seems like Indian music is this mountain to climb. Because how come everyone's like samba? Or how come everyone's like bossa nova? There's like these mainstream songs of the bossa nova. How can I make Indian rhythms, not classical mathematic music, be known? So the Kerwa, which I've talked about online, the Rupak I've talked about. So it comes from a very feel perspective. So I'm trying to change the way it's understood in different parts of the world. And so that was my interest. Qawwali music, which is music where everybody claps together. Folk music, Bollywood music. Like it's really feel-based music that I've really been focusing on.
Yeah. I think it was Flea was talking about this maybe, where he was trying to play along with some Indian musicians, and he was trying to count it in his head, and he couldn't, no matter how hard he tried. And then he gave up counting. It's like, I'm just gonna feel it, because you know, maybe it's a little longer this measure, a little shorter this one. And then he finally got it, but he couldn't intellectualize why he was going in with it. And
it's like, you don't have to intellectualize it, because every time I meet somebody and they're like, you play tabla? wow, I need to be born again to play it. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like Rupak is the groove in 7. If you think of oh my God,
never losing the 7.
Yeah. See, and you got it because tin and you just think open. So you think of it as something repetitive, like a pattern that everyone understands patterns, color patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking of it like that, it's not hard as you think.
Yeah, there's another clip. I mean, this is me referencing your clips episode, but that's kind of fun too. At least for me, it is.
Yeah.
Where you're like, it's always described as left, right, left,
Yeah.
left. But what if you thought of it as like kutakataka? Or
yes,
I'm like, oh, I never thought of it as kutakataku.
Yes,
and you can make endless little onomatopoeia versions of.
Oh yeah, and that's where the fun begins.
Yeah. So what are you excited about right now? Do you think in terms of what you want to do in the next year, next 5 years, or do you just go by the day, the feel of what opportunities are now? Or do you have a career arc of like, I want to release this album, I want to have this band that I tour with, I want to Do you think about that stuff?
So the thing about me is this is something that I'm working on. I'm very impatient. Me too. You know, like, yes, that's why we're friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like
we were even impatient to get to the friendship.
Exactly.
Friends.
Look at that. Friends. Yoshi. Let's see the cat. Yeah. So for me, I'm very impatient because I'm too passionate where I'm like, I want it now. I want to play with this person now. What can I do? I'll go to all the venues to find them. I'll wait afterwards. And I'm like, okay, then I would start getting migraines. I need to chill. So I'm at this point in my life where I'm saying no, more no's than yeses. And it's hard, especially moving out to LA. It's been maybe 1 year since I've been here, you know, money wise, not understanding what's next. But in my mind, I have imagery of what I want in my life. And I have people that I want to play with, but I'm letting time take its course. Because every time I find, so to me, that person, I need to meet X, Y, and Z. But does X, Y, and Z will not introduce you necessarily to that person because everyone in LA is trying to survive out here.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's quite, it's cutthroat, you know, with so much love, but it's intense at the same time. So it's like, you just keep your vision out there. You do the best you can. And let's see the path that is paved for you. So I take every day is so different, but I'm trying to really allow for flow and no expectation. And I'm even trying to be happy with what if nothing works out the way I want it to, and just being okay with that. So I can really focus on music and art. And that's where my headspace is at right now.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get it. That is the way to move forward.
Yeah.
Many people, I mean, it goes back to the not rigidness. Like you're not even rigid in that, but you're not aimless either. You have like a broad aim of what you want. It sounds like you have a feeling of what you want to get to, but not necessarily the write it down on paper. Like I must be playing with, I
did that. I had papers in Toronto and I hung it on my wall. Like, listen, all the festivals I want to play at, where I want to play it, who I want to play with, when and everything worked at different times, didn't work, didn't happen. So I'm like, clearly you can't plan this. It's not like you get a degree and there's a direction. Let me seek out if there's a pharmacist who needs me or whatever. It doesn't work that way here.
Yeah.
Here you're kind of like throwing rings into the fire and seeing what happens where. And you can get a lot of anxiety if you really, in my opinion, if you have all these expectations and you really want to have a plan. So yes, I have an understanding. I have a lot of aims, but I'm just letting it happen. And alongside doing all this stuff and hopefully working with many different creatives, I want to work on my own music. And I've been working on my own music since 2018 with many different people and I've taken many different roads. And I keep restarting actually, because I feel like I'm changing. And I feel like I'm really now really happy and understanding where I am, and, you know, vocals, whether it's quirky rap, whether it's whatever it is, crazy
eyebrows
drums.
done. I got to get my eyebrows done.
My eyebrows.
Look
at that. And that's in 7. You know, is it Led Zeppelin? I can't remember. There's a song called Money or something.
Pink Floyd?
Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's in 7.
Oh, is it? Oh.
And nobody knows. So there are these songs that people don't know that it's in like a different time signature. So I love, like, yeah, so I want to get my artistry out there. So I'm working with many different producers who do jazz, but who are very credible in the mainstream, and they're on the charts.
Cool.
So I'm really working on kind of fusing both of these worlds. And I'm into fashion. I'm into art. I want to tap into so many different industries. So just kind of doing it all right now.
So you watch fashion shows and the runway walks and different
So I would
outfits?
say maybe not like specifically like, you know, like runway walks and things like that, but I do check out, you know, different companies who have different pieces, different looks, different people who are pioneers in fashion. I love to explore like my own merch. Like I sit for hours and hours and days. Like I won't even get up, and I'm always so like, let's go. You know, just designing and learning, and I love creativity.
So you're blessed with a motor. It
Yeah.
feels like a lot of people don't have that, and
Yeah.
you know it takes a lot to get them up in the morning and get going. I feel like I'm
Yeah.
a mix of those two. I have the motor, but I'm also sometimes I can't do anything. I'm paralyzed.
Oh, that's like me too. I think just yesterday I watched 3 hours of Big Bang Theory or something.
Oh,
'Cause
right
I'm just
on.
like,
I'm so glad to hear that.
Oh yeah, like I have a deadline. I have a recording tomorrow, but I have a recording that's due tomorrow. 2 different things. I haven't even started, and I watched Big Bang Theory guilt-free yesterday. You need to get that motor running. You need to chill a little bit.
Yeah, you got to let the release the pressure valve. You have
Yeah.
to have some escapism, and if you're a you forever, you go nuts. And I think that's why we need to sleep, not just to rest our body, but that
Yeah.
you have to have some psychedelic trip go on in your head that's not
Yeah,
everyday life. Otherwise, you lose it.
exactly.
That's my theory. I've not studied any of this, but
I completely agree with you.
that's
Yeah.
my theory of the matter. So every episode of this show, we do 10 seconds of silence.
Okay.
And I don't put it at a particular time. I just kind of do it when I feel it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to even do anything during it. You don't have to have a positive intention or negative intention or neutral intention. It's just 10 seconds of silence as a tradition every episode. So are you ready?
Ready.
All
Let's
right.
do it.
And now. And we're back.
Yay.
That was a difficult one for me because you're high energy, and I always dread the silences during the high energy people because it's like it shuts down some of the momentum. But I feel like you also get it because you've talked about getting into meditation recently, and
Yeah.
you're not someone that would naturally do that. You kind of do it to put the break in. So have you been good with that practice recently?
Not in the past couple of days. So sometimes it's like maybe for a week I'll be good, then a couple of days. But I'm just focusing on as much as I can for as many days as I can. So it's not too much pressure. Before I was like, I need to do it every day at this time. And it's too overwhelming. But for me, yes, meditation is huge. I've never drank alcohol before.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah, like not even a sip, or like no, I've never had weed ever, like nothing. So I'm
On the natch.
yeah, like very, and people think the opposite. Like they're like, or she's drinking something, and I'm like, no, like never. And I feel like I am so like stimulated creatively. Like I feel like I have this fire inside of me that it's this excitedness that comes inside of me. I drink like 1 or 2 coffees a day, so it's not even like the coffee.
You're Frank Zappa without the cigarettes.
I know. Without the cigarette. And he didn't drink either, actually.
No.
Yeah.
He like maybe had cognac once. He's like, I have a sore throat. I have cognac here, but I
Yeah.
don't like to get dizzy or vomit on people.
Oh my! And actually, he died in 1993, which was when I was born. Which I'm like, holy, that's
Part of his spirit, I think,
Yeah.
I don't really, it doesn't add up that the spirit just goes into one other person and then it's like, now I'm this person.
Yeah.
But something is going on when someone leaves the planet and then a
Yeah.
new crop of humans have part of their essence in them. You'll
Yeah.
see it with Hendrix, with I mean, I guess Zappa I hadn't really thought of till you said that, but I could
Yeah.
see part of his spirit going into you.
Yeah.
The off timingness, the strangeness, the creativity, the no needing external substances and having the drive built in.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you a big Frank guy?
I am a big Frank guy. And I didn't know about Frank Zappa to the extent that I do now until I started posting online, during COVID, the funny spoken word and the crazy drumming and odd time signatures, until someone's like, Zappa. Everyone's saying Zappa, 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 Zappa. It was either Yoko Ono, which is, I think, is it John Lennon's wife or something?
Yeah, Yoko Ono.
Yeah, Yoko Ono. So
that's adorable. You don't know that.
yeah. So so Yoko, everyone's like Yoko Ono, and then they were saying Zappa, and then I'm like, let me look into Zappa a lot more, and I'm like, no way. And my favorite drummers like Vinnie Colaiuta, who played with Zappa. So I'm like, this is incredible.
You hear the sushi story?
No.
I don't know if I can tell it that well, but the gist of it is just they asked Vinnie Colaiuta to play this impossible thing. They gave him some charts that are impossible, and
I know that story.
He proceeds to do it and then picks up a piece of sushi with his foot and tosses it in his mouth during the other part. And
that's he's like another level for sure.
Yeah,
it's amazing. The art is always being pushed forward, and I ain't complaining.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah,
we're in a sweet spot for music right now. I think another disruption is going to be like when AI gets too similar to it, and maybe too much. We're seeing it with visual art a lot now, and too much boundaries stepping it. I'm not one of the people that are against it. I feel like the robots can never truly take.
No, they can't.
Yeah, it'll be close, but that's going to reveal a deeper aspect of what they're missing.
Right.
With each iteration of, because when the camera was invented, painters were like, this is the end of painting. There's not going to be painting anymore. People will just get photographs. And of course, people still want paintings.
Yeah.
People still like photographs. Now with AI, it's like no one's going to want any human-built imagery anymore. Yes, they will.
Yes, they will.
It's going to take a different form, though.
Exactly. And I feel the same way about music. I feel like right now is a really beautiful time. I feel like COVID has, I'm hoping to say past, or it's in the past. And everyone, you feel this craving for community and for live music. And people want to be like sweating beside each other.
Yeah.
I remember before COVID, can you do this remotely? Oh, I'm too lazy to go here. Oh my God, it's too late. Now it's like, let's go. So I'm feeling that music is really coming back in a different form, in a different way.
Yeah, with some more gratitude imbued into it.
Yeah.
I played this little covers gig. We played some Bruce Springsteen songs with my friend Rick and some other people. And the people were like, 2-3 meters away from the stage. And he just like got in their faces. Like, all of you during COVID were saying that, if we could only go out to live shows again. And then here you are just standing 2 meters away from the front. And then after that, everyone laughed and pushed up close to it.
Amazing.
But yeah. No, we are back, I think. The virus is still here. There is still hospital shortages here and there. But as far as it being the lockdown COVID pandemic,
God.
I think that's pretty much donezilla.
Yeah.
So, on a completely tangential note, I ask all my guests this too.
Yeah.
What do you think happens after you leave this body? What do you think the experience is of dying?
So after I leave this body.
Yeah.
I feel like humans in general are not their body. I feel like we are all souls, spirits, what have you, and this body is a vehicle. And I feel like I believe everybody has a purpose. I don't believe in coincidences or accidents. I feel like everything has a purpose. And that's the beauty about art and in life, because it forces you to be in the moment and really observe that nothing is by accident. So the spirit that we're all given, for me, I believe that I've been given this talent, you may say.
I'll say it.
Okay, you'll say it. I've been given this talent, I believe, and this motor to really help the world, push consciousness forward and just make the world better, and awareness of many, many, many things, and really destroy, like Shiva. We were talking about Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Just destroy these boxes and these labels, these lines. And I feel like that's really the purpose of my spirit, because it's not the reason I didn't wake up and say, this is what I want to do. So I feel like that's my spirit. And so when I feel that when I die one day, I feel that my spirit is just going to join the source and just maybe be. I don't have expectation of anything. Just bliss, or maybe see my lovely grandmother again someday. Yeah, that's it.
Right on.
Yeah.
Or maybe part of it will leave on 1993 and then go into the next generation of the Zappa Thawer weirdness.
Oh yes, let's do it.
I'm gonna steal some of it if I'm still alive, just to get a little bit of that.
I'll give you some
that off timing drumness.
If you give me your creativeness and your talent, then I'll give you some of that.
Fair
Let's
trade.
do it. Let's do it.
One man's trash. No, I guess it's not trash. It's okay.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So, let's see. I was going to say something and now it's... Oh, right. I was thinking in terms of, Victor Wooten.
Oh, my God.
The bass player.
Of course.
He was saying at some clinic thing, which I was going to ask you about clinics after that, but I got to stay on this question. But he was saying that a lot of people say that, like, I don't want to play fretless. I don't want to, like, listen to a weather report because then I'll sound like Jocko, and I don't want to sound like Jocko. And then he said, oh, don't worry, you won't. Like, so even if you're trying to sound like someone else, you still won't. Like, you cannot sound like anybody else. You can be inspired by it and take some tricks, but everyone I feel like sounds like exactly themselves.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I feel like I pick up on things very quickly, and I've noticed that about myself. So if I'm watching a drummer for too long, let's say I'll have a gig that night and I've watched like an hour or listened to an hour of that person, I'll do the gig and they will keep coming to my mind. Like their body language will come into my mind, their posture, their vocabulary, and then I'm like, I need to get out of it. Mm-hmm. So like I feel that sometimes I can get like zoned into someone else's art or playing. So I have to be careful because I know that about myself. So sometimes I'll listen to a bunch of music, watch a bunch of videos, and I like to kind of keep it mixed. But let's say I'm doing like a very specific gig that it's like you need to play big band or like whatever it is. Then I'll be like, okay, I can use this as a forte. It's a strength of mine to listen to a big band drummer and really get into that headspace. But I feel like you need to also be aware what type of person you are. Are you somebody who really picks up on other people's mannerisms and things like that? So sometimes I just need to not listen to anybody before a show of mine or something, so I can just really be in my headspace. Yeah.
Is there any situation you feel like you're out of your comfort zone dropping into, or do you feel like at this point you can drop into any scenario and find your way into it?
Honestly, I feel like in the recent years, yes, I feel really, really comfortable and it feels great. But before it was a challenge because like, I didn't grow up playing with a metronome. Again, with the Indian music being grassroots, you're playing off of the people and doing that feel thing. And in the R&B music, the MPCs, you have to be able to play to the click. So I really had to master the click or whatever it is. So I feel like I really did my homework, like hours and hours and hours of practice. And now I feel like I'm enjoying the fruits of it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you would make the metronome like break out of its rigidness and it would like start doing like some fun ghost notes or weird fluid grid fluidity. Is that what they call it? Where it's like not on the grid, but it's not out of time either. It's like
it's my favorite.
Going in and out. It's consistent within itself.
Yes. I like the place in life that music is. I love it so much because everything, in my opinion, has kind of been established. Funk, R&B, metronome, now metronome with apps, quintuplets, like everything. And now it's like, like what can I mess with? If like quantizing has been such a thing where everything has to be lined up. And then back in the day, everyone's like, no, metronome and quantizing takes the feel away from the music. And there's been controversy. And now it's like, I'm going to learn about the metronome. Now I'm going to really be on the metronome. And then I'm going to go away. I'm going to do some weird off the grid, but I'll be on the grid. But now maybe I'll be slightly forward or behind the grid. So it's like, woohoo, like there's so much you can do.
Indoor, outdoor cat. Sometimes you're inside, sometimes you're gone for who knows, 3 hours. We don't know when we'll see you again.
Yeah, exactly.
Both. Yeah. I mean, that's the theme I'm sensing here. It's like you've got your handle on both. You've got your handle on the ethereal out of the boundary, but you recognize the boundary and you can be within the boundary when you want to.
And that definitely came out of fear because I wanted to work after university. And my mom is like, let's see what happens. Like, if you don't get work, if this doesn't work out, then you can come work with me or something like that. So I'm like, okay, I need to understand what it means to be a working musician. What does that mean? Learn the rules. Right? In every genre, what does a clave mean? Do I need a washi cymbal? Do I need an 18-inch kick? What does this mean? How much do I need to learn how to read? What is this person looking for? What does the shuffle mean? What kind of shuffle? Open, hi-hat, close? So really, like the finite details, you understand. And I really believe learn everything. I love learning. And I learned all the rules. I've toured every genre of music. I even played gospel music as the main drummer in a church for 6 years.
Gospelchops.com.
Seriously, and I love what they do. And I spent time in a church because Aretha. This is very embarrassing.
Urethra is the the P thing.
Right, the P thing.
Yeah.
Aretha Franklin. Even Justin Timberlake. I think Justin Timberlake said his inspiration for singing is Kim Burrell, who is an incredible gospel singer. So I said, okay, I need to understand this genre if I want to break out into the Western scene, and then understand rock drummers. So that I always tell everybody, learn the art of the instrument or of anything. Understand where it comes from, not just from like, I need to know it so I can do it. No, out of respect. Right? Yeah. We're artists, so we give our life and we sacrifice whatever it is to do it. We won't be home with our family to, do X, Y, and Z. So learn it, eat the food, smell the spices, be around the people, look at what they wear, how they move their head because music is like people. That it's basically the lives of people. And then along with that, you will understand the rules of the music, and then you can break them. And that's the thing is like, I don't want to have blind spots because when I do crazy things and like I still get negative comments, whatever, but I know that I did this consciously.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love living in both worlds. And Frank Zappa, like his music, crazy technical. Like you have to be like Vinny or someone at the top to play with him. And then that gives him that freedom that he knows what's happening, but now let him do his thing. And I love that.
Yeah, that's something that I loved about he from what I hear, he would recognize what your thing was. What can you do? He would say, what can you do that's fantastic? And then he would build it around you. So with each lineup, it was a different feel for all the all songs and everything.
I love that.
Is there areas of growth in other instruments that you aspire to like grow more, or are you you're hyper focused on?
No, not hyper focused. As a kid, I always wanted to play guitar, like go on my knees and
that's what Miles Davis said. He said that if he could play guitar, he would do all that Hendrix feedback shit.
God.
But he plays trumpet, so this is what he's stuck with.
So that's the thing. Like my dad can even tell anybody this, that from age, I think 5 or 6, my dad would just take me to music stores. I would just say, Dad, let's go to a music store. He'd be like, okay, let's go. And I would always go into the guitar room and I'd be like, let me see that guitar. And I'd hold it like, and I'm like, okay, now I want that guitar. And it was a thing until I was like old enough to drive that I'll go myself. So I feel like now that things are good, I fulfilled whatever my homework, to now I can learn another instrument and really learn it. So I want to learn bass. I want to learn guitar. I play piano, so I understand like theory and all that. Just like I was just playing guitar yesterday and like my fingers had all the lines. I need to get the blisters and all that kind of stuff. All the calluses. So I'm excited for that next venture.
Hell yeah. I would love to hear what kind of voicings and stuff come out of you from string instruments.
Oh, right now there are none, but hopefully soon.
It'll be there. You maybe have to squint at first, but it'll emerge. But I was thinking that drums and piano, those are probably the best things to start on, because like rhythm is fundamental, and you see it with any drummer I know that's also taken on string instruments. It's like they've got a special thing down that most other, like especially lead guitar players, just don't have. Even the top level, like flashy people, they're missing some of that grounded in the earth timing. And so you start with the timing of that, and then you just have to learn the fingerings and get the calluses, and you're golden, baby. It's gonna be fine.
Yes, thank you.
Right on. So the second thing that we do every episode is the opposite. of the 10 seconds of silence.
Okay.
This is the 10 seconds of glossolalia.
All right.
This is mouth sounds with no apparent meaning. So I go first and I just make some mouth sounds that have no apparent meaning, but you sense the feeling of the meaning of them. It was started by the ungoogleable Michelangelo, who knows how many episodes ago now, but all right, I'll go first and you'll do fine. All right, here we go. Each the what the crap crack do the hit to hit hooked.
Hit hot chicka buck chicka
Most excellent. Fantastic.
Thank you.
So have you ever have you put on many shows that's just you, like your led band, like whether it's just you on drums doing stuff as a solo thing or you and accompanying people, but it's like, it's the Sarah show?
Yeah, I've done quite a few, like many different jazz festivals I've done. The focus was mostly on instrumental music. It would be a trio or quartet, and the music has definitely changed over time. I've done a few solo shows. I've also done like various different clinics around the world, kind of playing, talking about what I do, answering questions, and having a good time. So a good variety.
When did you start in the clinic game?
When in the clinic game? My first official clinic was 7
And I love that they're
years.
called clinics. Like, I don't know why they're called clinics.
I know, yeah.
Like, I don't know why ice cream and pizza is called a parlor. And I don't know why by music lessons is called clinics, but I always loved going to a clinic.
Yeah, clinic.
It feels like you're really getting healthy. You're really like fixing some illness in your musical being that can only be solved by going to the Guitar Center at 2 p.m. for an hour.
That is so funny. Oh my God. I started doing clinics, I would say 7 years ago. Yeah, 7 years ago.
Did you get it right away? Did you always have the knack for, because you do have a knack for education, like you're captivating in the like teaching stuff way.
Yeah.
And it's not like some people, they don't have it, and bless their hearts, and I wish them all the best, but we see it where like I will watch an hour-long YouTube video of you where I wasn't even intending to learn about drums that day, and then I can't get through a 30-second video of a thing that I was intending to get through because they just don't have the knack for imbuing knowledge on people. But was that first clinic like, you got this?
I think so, because the thing with like not labeling anything, that's kind of been a theme in my life since I was a kid. So when I was a kid, I would be hosts of different like events, whether it be like my dad's shows or like in community events. And
you would MC it?
I would MC.
Oh, that's cool.
And I would write scripts and like at least 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 different things. I loved talking to people. I love to explain things, and I love to listen. And my grandmother, my late grandmother, she was a teacher. My mom is an engineer, but she's also a teacher. She teaches at work to train people. My twin sister's also
Farrah, right?
Farrah, yeah,
who went the traditional path.
Traditional path.
Yeah.
She's a
Is she
pharmacist.
older, like by a second?
By a minute.
By a minute? The
Yeah.
older one always goes square,
They
even
do
if they're
go
twins.
square, man. Yeah, she never wants to play pranks or anything like that. I tell you, man. But she's a pharmacist, but also she's a teacher as well. She makes courses for students who want to pursue pharmacy. So there's like a lineage of teaching in my family, and there's a big push for education. And my mom always like, write your essays well. She put me in like writing lessons just to kind of have a good handle to explain things and be expressive in many ways. And then I kind of learned that I'm good at talking and explaining. In elementary school, I loved to do speeches. I loved speeches and like holding cue cards and picking the weirdest topics to talk about. And I became a Yamaha artist, and they're like, okay, can you do some clinics? And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is that I never looked at other clinics. I never went to a clinic actually until not too long ago. So when I did my first clinic, I had never attended a clinic, like an official clinic. So I didn't have a point of reference. I didn't want to do any research. So I'm like, let me just approach it my way. So even like all the stuff online that you see, these master classes and stuff, I'm like, you have to have a level of trust in yourself. Let me put the microphone in front of me. Give me a topic and let's talk.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's very similar to, and I hadn't really put this together till now, but you remind me in some ways of Esperanza Spalding.
I love her.
In that,
Yeah.
I mean, different energies, of course, but like playful and like something about you just know.
Yeah.
You came onto this earth knowing something.
Wow.
And you can imbue it on people. But she did that too, I think, in those keynote speeches. Just goes up there and is like, yeah, I didn't write anything down or prepare anything, and then just goes off on and somehow ties it back to source and creativity and oneness and expression and the present moment, and just figures that out.
Yeah.
And that's better than if you could ever write it down, because when you do write something down, that's present moment you writing it down.
Yeah.
So it's like you're trying to freeze your present momentness onto the paper, but it was always present moment you that made the written down thing. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And I feel like everyone's brain or everyone works beautifully different. Like I know so many people who, when they play shows, they really practice the music. Like, okay, I'm going to go to the right cymbal now. And like really like they have to go on this beat. No matter what's going on in the live situation, or they'll learn a piece of music for a drum clinic or for a music clinic, and they practice the solo that they're going to play. And I love them for that, because that works for so many people. And I tried it at many big performances. The amount of anxiety that I had in my head that, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to go that. I'm like, and people told me, like professional drummers told me, Sarah, you're doing it wrong. Like if you do a clinic, you have to go through all of your music. You have to spend a week on all of the music and plan out everything. So out of respect, I did it. And the worst came out of me. I mean, it looked good and sounded good, but it didn't feel good. So that's when I decided, okay, you need some freedom and in the moment choices.
Yeah, and then if you gave that same prescription to the people that need the writing down, then that would be chaos. So
Exactly.
yeah, like we do have opposite functionalities in that way.
Exactly. Like be aware of every possibility, that you can read charts, that you cannot read charts. You can use your ear to learn music. You need a week, you need a day, you need an hour, whatever it is. Be aware and experiment, dip your feet in, and then just see what works for you.
Yeah.
You know, that's it.
Have you ever played with people that can't jam? Or maybe they're just too afraid to. Those always puzzle me so much. It's like you can't come up with nothing. You can't come up with whatever.
Yeah. I remember I took this course in university, and it was called free improv. And what the teacher made us do is that we would look around the room, and he'd have like a red cube. He'd be like, play to the cube. Like how, so I'd be like, okay.
And the cube doesn't do anything, right?
No, it's just like a cube, or even like this jug of water. Let me play to the jug of water.
Hey, water.
Yeah. Hey, water, what's going on? Like I see a circle at the top. So what reminds me of a circle? Maybe I take mallets, and go on the cymbal. And water is like very pure. So automatically I'm going to start feeling like light, so maybe like toms on the drums. And now I have this ambiance of I'm like meditating, drinking water, feeling refreshed. And that's what this reminds me of. Then I'm going to be like, ooh, okay, let's scare the water. Let's spill the water. Right? So, and then I'm like, oh, I spilled the water. And then let's say my mom's like yelling at me in this scene in my head. So I'm doing a roll on the snare drum. My mom's getting mad. She's like, oh, you're spilling the water again. You're never careful. And I'm like, then I'm playing chaos. Chaos. We clean up, and I'm like, Mom, I'm sorry. And then, how am I going to end it? I want to apologize to my mom. I want to be on good terms. So, okay, I'm sorry, Mom. Bring back the mallets, and there you improvised a piece by like looking at a jar of water.
Oh yeah, and that had a beginning, middle, and an end, and it returned home. It followed the Joseph Campbell story circle and everything.
Yeah, it's fun. So I always tell people, if you're jamming, don't limit. You don't have to. You can, but you don't have to limit yourself to notes, or you can. There's like techniques to improvise too. If I play, like if you take C. and you're playing in the key of C. You're at C. You're chilling at C. Exactly. There we go. Look, you're just chilling at C. And let's say you're feeling a little edgy. You go to C sharp. You're just feeling a little edgy. Okay, go back to C. Repetition. Go to C sharp, C. C sharp, C. Let's play a major chord. C, E, G. C, E, G. Let's go higher to the C. Then go back and then go forth. So there are times when my mind is running. There are times where I'm having the worst day ever. And I can't improvise because my mind is not clear. So I'll talk to myself through it. I'd be like, yeah, I'm not feeling it. Don't get angry at yourself, Sarah. Go for the cymbal. Go for that. Like, and you just, it's like you can consciously talk your mind into improvising too.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I don't like relying on anything, because to me, nothing in this world is forever, nor is it stable. Nothing is permanent. So you always have to be ready for whatever and work with what you got. So I love throwing myself into the fire to train myself to work with what I got. You know, doing shows where your in-ears break, doing a show when the click stops working, doing a show when your hi-hat falls, doing the show where the music is really hard, someone gets lost, like any situation, but killing it and having fun with it every single time. So yeah, I love improvising. Yeah.
Preach.
Yes.
Have you heard back to Victor Wooten? He tells students at Berkeley, like the really uptight jazz folk, that okay, I want you to play the wrongest solo possible.
Yeah,
and that gets people to
man.
laugh and just wakes up a little bit, where otherwise they were like this.
Oh my
but if you
God.
have to do the most wrong, then it's like
I love, because I was told all my life, no, Sarah, you were ahead an E, like the E was slightly ahead. You didn't hit this shot. So again, I learned to do it correctly, but while trying to figure it out, I did shows where I lost the beat like multiple times. Where I would try doing off-grid stuff, I'd lose the beat, and I'm looking around, and the audience, people can tell, because sometimes like it's like music lovers are coming to the show, and there have been times where it's been posted online, and it had like a couple of hundreds of thousands of hits. So I'm like, what are the people are gonna think that she can't? She's a drummer and she solos and she can't keep time. But I'm like, it's okay. I told myself, you're being vulnerable. You're showing that we're all human. Why hide? Because you can inspire other people. And one performance doesn't define you. This is a journey. So I'm like, it's okay. Let it be there. I'll have a show next week. Maybe I'll try something else. So not being afraid to make mistakes is the most beautiful thing, and the most beautiful things come out. Like babies, some babies come by mistake, and it's most babies, you know what I'm saying? And it's the most beautiful, life-changing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Peterson even had something like, you're supposed to have kids by accident. That's the whole point.
There we go. Exactly. With love and freedom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh man. Well, we're getting towards the end of the hour here.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners? Any sort of like knowledge you'd like to imbue on them if you're going back in time and you only have 5 seconds to tell them the thing?
I would say take the leap without fear.
But what if I'm afraid, is what they say.
Accept fear. Like accept that it's like, it's kind of been ingrained, animals, they go hunting, and the ones that are smaller are more vulnerable. You get scared. It's like part of the human condition. If you accept fear, if you accept that things will go wrong, and it's like the fear or the disappointment of it not happening, or the disappointment of not trying. What do you want to choose?
Yeah.
And like live life on the edge. That I would say that.
You are on the edge.
I'm on the edge.
And aren't those mistakes little gifts that you, not to ruminate on them, but like,
Yeah.
I think you were saying on some other show about a touring gig you screwed up, and the thing was recorded on video, and the person, I forget who it was but saying, it's like, now you know how to fail. Now you know what it's like to screw up. You'll always have that.
Yeah, and those are the most important times, because when you make a mistake, you're like, and you be in the moment, like with the mistake, even if it's on stage in front of like so many people. I've gotten dirty looks from the band leaders, from the artists. They go, I remember there was this one instant I played for this like like intense like R&B singer, and it was like a proper festival, and it was my job to play the tracks. Now what happened was I asked the bass player to plug something in so I can hear the click in my ears, and he did it. I trusted him. We started the show, couldn't hear a thing, and I'm freaking out. The track is being played, I can't hear the click, and I have to count anybody in. And the singer, she wants to dance, and she had her routine, and she's like looking back at me. And I remember at that time my adrenaline's up, but I'm like, be here with it. And so you get to learn, what does anxiety feel like? It's like cognitive behavioral therapy, right?
Oh, I just learned about that.
Yeah. Oh, I love I love understanding the mind and all that kind of stuff. So cognitive behavioral therapy, let the fear be here. Like embrace the fear, feel the fear, and then you'll learn that, okay, next time it comes again, this is what it feels like. Okay, it comes, this is what it feels like. Now I know what I can do. I know what my triggers are. I know what moves to make. I posted this video that went quite viral where I'm playing a show and my hi-hat fell apart. It fell apart that the whole hi-hat during a song like was about to fall over, and because I'm like just be in the moment, I'm like, it's getting loose. And in the video I'm playing the groove and I'm like, don't panic, or if you panic, it's okay. Screwing it, didn't work, fell off. I'm like, whoa, and then just kept playing, and then find the fun in the mistakes and be like, what, man, we're not killing anybody. Like, it's light. It's all fun. So that's how I love mistakes. I love failing. And in the last year that I've been here, there's been nothing but mistakes. I don't want to say failure, but lessons learned.
Mistake calluses.
There we go.
That's your fingers of mistakes.
Makes you stronger.
So do you have any examples of things mistake-wise that really sting, that you're still haunted by? Not really because you get it, but
let me think.
The human part of you, not the enlightened part of you.
The human part of me. I would say that I get very excited about the art, that I put aside the business part of things or what the people are like that I'm working with. So I've said yes to a couple of things. I'm like, oh my God, there's that drum set and this is the music and I'm going to get this video out of it and this recording. And then I've gone into the situation and I'm like, okay, I need out. So yeah, those are some mistakes that I have made and learned from.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Man, I had one more thing. Now it's gone. I've done that a lot, I know. But that's okay. That's part of the mistakesness of it.
There
and
we
go.
go.
You'll still exist. I can still ask you. You'll just not be on the episode anymore.
Yeah.
So, any closing remarks? We've gone over an hour. Okay. Had a good time. We've learned a lot.
Such a great time. Yes. Hello to everybody. Bye-bye to everybody. I can't wait to see you all again. Check me out online, Sarah_drums. My name is Sarah Thawer, but my stage name is Sarah Drums. And it means so much that you got this far. Thank you so much.
Yay!
Yay!
Thanks for listening to everyone. Check out Sarah in the links in the description. Check out the Instagram. It's where it's at. Check out the YouTube. It's also where it's at. And yeah, thanks for listening. And oh, Yosha's here. We gotta go. There's a yo. Good night. See you next time.